Cody Rhodes is by far the most popular wrestler in WWE. But if the way he has been booked recently has shown the world anything, it's that being popular doesn't necessarily mean you get good booking. Considering he went from having one of the most entertaining stories in WWE history to having programs that feel as if they are meant for WWE's developmental brand, all of this indicates that he is having the 2019 Seth Rollins effect. A gradual decline in popularity due to continuously uninspiring booking that has fans yawning, eventually getting to a point where fans get bored of you and slowly turn. And it's a shame because Cody was no ordinary superstar. He was and is one of the biggest attractions in SmackDown, and I believe Cody and Triple H know this. However, given the current state of the SmackDown roster, it's difficult for Cody to significantly change the situation. But considering the brand split is a rule, often broken by wrestlers for storylines or special events, it's puzzling why they haven't brought some of Raw's heavy hitters over to SmackDown to tangle with Cody. So why not shake things up and have a top-tier Raw guy come to SmackDown to face off against Cody? Is Cody a boring champion solely because of the SmackDown roster, and what can be done to turn things around for the American Nightmare? Just to be clear, I'm not the only one who feels Cody's reign is a bit mediocre. For the last couple of months, I've seen a few videos discussing this. That being said, everyone has different views and opinions about why that is, with the weak SmackDown roster being the most obvious reason. But there's one specific observation that seems to have escaped everyone's attention. It seems historically SmackDown has always had a weaker roster or boring storylines. In 2017, SmackDown had Jinder Mahal as their champion. This guy, SmackDown for 170 days. Even seasoned pros like AJ Styles and Kevin Owens were putting on snoozers. SmackDown gets points for trying new stuff, but that's where it ends. Back in 2010, they started off hot with Jericho vs. Edge, but after WrestleMania, it was all downhill. Jack Swagger winning the world title? Total flop. It was like SmackDown was a mid-card wasteland, with only a handful of bright spots. A few guys showed promise, but it wasn't enough to save the day. Try to remember anything exciting that happened on that show that year. Good luck. 2007 was a dumpster fire. Remember that time Mae Young gave birth to a hand? Or that Katie Vick storyline? Yikes. Sure, there were a few bright spots like The Miz and John Morrison's tag team and the push for guys like MVP and Mr. Kennedy. But let's not forget about the great Khali as world champion. Yeah, that sums it up. It's clear that Raw has always been the established powerhouse and SmackDown the occasional challenger. Sure, there were times when they were neck and neck, like in 2016. SmackDown was a blast that year with some killer matches and storylines. But after the big draft in July, it really hit its stride. Even though Raw had the star power, SmackDown managed to make magic happen. The Miz and Dolph Ziggler having a surprisingly great feud, the Headbangers made a random comeback, and there was the whole James Ellsworth debacle. The women's division was on fire with Becky Lynch at the helm, tag team matches were top-notch, AJ Styles was on a roll, and Randy Orton was hanging with the Wyatt family. It was a wild ride. Recently, Roman Reigns' Tribal Chief saga took the wrestling world by storm. SmackDown became the must-watch show. The story he was telling was so entertaining and original that it made SmackDown feel like the A show. Reigns' immense popularity even led him to make appearances on Raw. Monday Night Raw has always been WWE's golden child. While there have been some clunkers on both shows, SmackDown seems to get the short end of the stick more often. Maybe it's because Raw is longer, so they need a constant stream of talent. Or maybe it's just that with more time, Raw ends up with more superstars overall, including the big names, leaving SmackDown feeling like a leftovers bin. With fans noticing the difference, they might subconsciously lean towards Raw as the more reliable source of excitement. It's like WWE has always favored Raw, a habit they've kept up over the years. That's probably why they're hesitant to let Raw stars pop over to SmackDown too often. Let me know what you think. Bringing in a big name from Raw to face Cody on SmackDown would be like shining a spotlight on SmackDown's lackluster roster. It would defeat the purpose of having two separate shows to give everyone a fair chance. Just having separate shows isn't enough to create exciting opportunities for wrestlers. Cody seems to be struggling to find a compelling storyline following his feud with Roman Reigns. When Roman Reigns became champ as the Tribal Chief, his feud with his cousins, Jimmy and Jey Uso, was a total game-changer. Even though Jimmy and Jey aren't the biggest stars, their storyline with Roman was one of the most gripping in years. Roman was the only major name involved, but by the end, Everyone felt more important thanks to the amazing story. Cody Rhodes isn't exactly setting the SmackDown world on fire right now. The roster is a bit thin, but WWE could do something about that. By giving Cody, as champion, some truly captivating storylines, they could distract fans from the lackluster talent pool. Remember how Roman Reigns and the Usos worked? It was personal, grounded, and original. SmackDown is a shorter show with fewer stars, so why not focus on intimate, compelling stories with Cody? It's a perfect opportunity to use the show's strengths to your advantage. WWE's trying to spark something with Cody Rhodes and KO, but it feels half-baked. There's a goldmine of stories they could mine. Imagine Cody becoming paranoid and distrustful of his friends as the pressure of being champion mounts. Or explore the inner conflict between his good guy persona and the ruthless demands of the title. These are the kinds of stories that could really ignite the crowd. I believe many of the complaints and issues people have with Cody stem from the lack of moral complexity. It seems recognizes Cody as their John Cena figure, and they're hesitant to turn him heel or portray him in a questionable light, especially for the younger fan base who view him as a hero. While there's nothing wrong with maintaining a positive image, this decision has alienated a portion of the fan base who desire more complex and compelling storylines. Bash in Berlin was perhaps the most predictable pay-per-view. It wasn't bad or boring, just predictable. Everyone knew the outcomes. The same can be said for Cody's reign. If you skipped his segments on SmackDown, you wouldn't have missed much. WWE has recently been responsive to fan feedback, so I hope things will improve. Whether they will or not remains to be seen.